Welcome back to the deep dive. You know, I have to be honest with you. Today feels different.
Oh, yeah. How so?
It feels a little bit like the morning after a really, really intense party.
Yeah.
Or uh, maybe the feeling you get when you walk out of a 3-hour epic movie and the sunlight just hits your eyes.
And you're just blinking, trying to figure out what's real again?
Exactly. You're just trying to reorient yourself to the world.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we are in the material.
We've arrived.
We have. We've effectively arrived at the series finale of the Bhagavad Gita. For the last few sessions, we've been on the battlefield of Kurukshetra.
Right in the middle of it. The conch shells, the chariots, all of it.
We've seen Arjuna, this incredible warrior, just completely collapse in an existential crisis. We saw the entire universe revealed in that single, frankly terrifying vision in Chapter 11.
The Vishwarupa, mind-bending stuff.
It really was. But now it feels like the special effects are fading. The cosmic light show is over.
Yeah.
And we're just here.
We are. We're at the outro. We are diving straight into Chapter 18, which is titled Moksha Sannyasa Yoga.
The yoga of liberation and renunciation.
Which sounds incredibly heavy.
It does. And I think the burning question for everyone listening, and definitely for me, is actually pretty simple. It's the so what factor.
The bottom line.
Yeah. After 700 verses of this high-stakes, incredibly intense philosophical dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, what's the verdict? When we turn this off and go back to our lives, what are we supposed to do on Monday morning?
That is the ultimate question, isn't it? Because if you treat this text as just a history book or, a piece of classical literature, you miss the entire point.
You do.
The Gita is engineered to be a manual, and Chapter 18 is the summary of that manual. It's where the rubber meets the road.
So that's our mission today.
That's the mission. To unpack these final conclusions, to strip away the jargon and find the source code for handling stress, for handling decision paralysis, and that nagging search for purpose that I think we all deal with.
And we have some incredible sources to help us do that, including some really surprising deep cuts from the Advaita Vedanta tradition that I found fascinating.
Oh, yeah. It's not just live, laugh, love philosophy. There is some rigorous logic here.
Absolutely not. So before we get into the heavy lifting, I want to do a vibe check.
Okay.
Because I think people hear ancient text or Chapter 18, and they just think, oh, great, a sermon. This is going to be heavy.
Right. And the title doesn't help. Moksha, Sannyasa Yoga, Liberation, and Renunciation.
It sounds like we're about to tell you to sell your car and move to a cave in the Himalayas.
It really does.
And for the record, I like my car. I have no intention of moving to a cave.
And you don't have to. That is the first misconception we have to just clear up right away.
Please.
This chapter is not about escaping the world. It's actually about how to engage with the world fully.
Okay.
But without getting crushed by it. It's about being in the war, whatever your personal war is, but having a mindset that makes you, for lack of a better word, bulletproof.
Bulletproof mindset. I love that. Okay, so let's quickly recap the journey so far, just so we all have our bearings.
Good idea.
We started way, way back in Chapter 1 with the crisis of action.
Mm-hmm.
Arjuna just wanted to quit.
He was the original quiet quitter, actually, or maybe loud quitter is more accurate.
Gave a whole speech about it.
He really did. He saw his family on the other side of the battlefield. The duty was just too painful, and he dropped his bow. Total paralysis from attachment.
And then we moved through those middle chapters, say 7 through 12, where the whole conversation shifted.
It did. It went from doing stuff to knowing stuff.
And feeling stuff. We got into devotion. We saw that mind-bending universal form. And speaking of the design of the text, I found a little Easter egg in the source notes that I have to share.
Oh, this is the numeric symmetry. Right.
Yes. It blew my mind. So Chapter 15 is called Purushartha Yoga. It's seen as this, condensed nugget of the entire teaching. It has exactly 20 verses.
Right. A very concise chapter.
But get this. If you count the actual letters in the original Sanskrit of those 20 verses, do you know how many there are?
I think I do, but say it.
Exactly 700.
Which is?
The exact number of verses in the entire Bhagavad Gita. 700 letters in the microcosm, 700 verses in the macrocosm.
It's like a fractal, isn't it? The part contains the whole.
It's incredible. It just shows you that this isn't some stream of consciousness rant. This is a highly engineered architectural text. Everything is placed with intention.
It connects the micro to the macro, just like that chapter connects the individual soul to the supreme soul. But now we have to land the plane.
We do.
We are in Chapter 18. And what's so interesting is that it starts almost exactly like Chapter 1 did.
With a question from Arjuna.
With a question from Arjuna.
And honestly, It feels like a bit of a pedantic question at first glance.
It does seem a little academic.
I mean, after seeing God, after understanding the fabric of the cosmos, he raises his hand and basically asks for a dictionary definition. He wants to know the difference between sannyasa and tyaga.
Hey, Krishna, before the world ends, can we just go over the vocab list one more time?
Right, and in English, we translate both of these words as renunciation or letting go. They seem totally synonymous. Why is he splitting hairs at this moment?
Because that distinction, that tiny little hair he's splitting, determines how you live your entire life. It is the fundamental difference between being a monk in a monastery and being a functional, engaged human being in modern society.
Okay, so this is a big deal then.
It's everything. He asks this in verse 18.1. He wants to distinguish between sannyasa renunciation and tyaga relinquishment.
All right, let's break this down for real then, because I think a lot of us, myself included, really struggle with this whole concept of letting go.
Yeah.
Is it the difference between quitting a job because the boss is toxic and the stress is killing you versus, say, keeping the job but just deciding you don't care about the Christmas bonus anymore?
That is a surprisingly accurate analogy. Let's start with the sannyasa. Historically, and in the context of this debate, sannyasa was often interpreted as the path of the pure ascetic, the person who literally walks away from everything.
The monk and the mountain architect.
Exactly. They give up action entirely. They don't cook, they don't work, they don't have a family. They retreat to the cave or the forest.
And the logic there is
What?
to avoid bad karma.
The logic is that action itself leads to bondage. So if I don't do anything, I can't do anything wrong, I can't get entangled. It's a defensive strategy.
I see. It's like unplugging from the matrix completely.
It is. But then you have tyaga. And tyaga is profoundly different. Tyaga is about relinquishing the fruit of the action, not the action itself.
The result.
The result. And here's where the debate gets settled. In verses 18.2 all the way through 18.12, Krishna delivers the final verdict. He says that for the vast majority of people, and definitely for a warrior like Arjuna, tyaga is the superior path.
Why? I mean, isn't it cleaner to just walk away?
You'd think so, but it's impossible. And the reason is biology. Look at verse 18.11. The source text is so explicit here. It says, "It is indeed impossible for an embodied being to give up all activities entirely."
Embodied being. So if you have a body, you're stuck doing stuff.
You are. You can't opt out. Even if you go sit in that cave and close your eyes and achieve perfect stillness, what are you still doing?
I'm breathing. My heart's beating. My stomach is probably digesting lunch.
And your mind, what's your mind doing?
Oh, my mind is replaying an argument I had in 2014, worrying about a deadline and planning what to have for dinner.
Exactly. And that is action. Thinking is action. Feeling is action. Breathing is action. So the Gita argues that sannyasa, in the sense of trying to physically stop all action, is a trap. It's actually a form of hypocrisy.
Because you're physically still, but mentally you're running a marathon.
You're running a marathon of anxiety and desire, so the trap isn't the work. It's not the war. It's not the spreadsheet you have to fill out.
The trap is the addiction to the outcome.
That's it. It's that constant nagging, what's in it for me mindset.
This feels like it connects so directly to the modern epidemic of burnout.
Say more about that.
Well, when I look at why I burn out or why my friends and colleagues burn out, it's very rarely just because the work is hard. We can all do hard work.
Right.
It's because we are so emotionally tethered to a result that we ultimately can't control.
Yeah.
We pour our soul into a project, and then we wait and we agonize over whether it will be praised or if it will fail or what people will think.
That is the perfect definition of attachment to the fruit, karma phala, the fruit of the action.
Right.
If you were writing a report, the writing itself is the action. The praise from your boss, the promotion, the feeling of success, that's the fruit. The Gita says, do the writing. Pour everything you have into it. Make it the best report ever written, but renounce your claim on the praise.
Okay, I have to push back here because I can hear the listeners right now.
Go for it.
They're saying, okay, that sounds very nice and spiritual, but practically, in the real world, if I walk into my annual review and I tell my boss, hey, I did the project, but I've renounced the results. I don't really care if it made money or not. I'm going to get fired.
You might. You just might. And that is a very common and understandable misunderstanding of tyaga.
So it's not apathy.
It is the opposite of apathy. Tyaga doesn't mean you don't care about quality. In fact, a true yogi, someone practicing tyaga, should do better work than anyone else.
How does that work? If I don't care about the result, why would I try harder?
Okay, think about a surgeon, a heart surgeon. She's standing over a patient, performing a life-saving operation, Does she want the patient to live?
Of course, that's the whole point.
But what if her hands are shaking because she is so terrified of the patient dying? What if she's distracted, thinking about the medical award she's going to get if this is successful, or the lawsuit she'll face if it isn't? Is she a good surgeon in that moment?
No, she's a terrible surgeon. She's a dangerous surgeon. Her ego is in the way.
Exactly. To be the best possible surgeon, she has to be 100% immersed in the process.
The incision, the stitching.
The moment-to-moment action. She has to let go of the future, the result, good or bad, to be fully, completely present in the now. And the now is her duty. That is Tyaga. It's not apathy. It's, let's call it detached engagement.
Detached engagement. I like that phrase. It feels like the polar opposite of quiet quitting.
It is.
Quiet quitting is withdrawing your engagement to protect yourself from burnout. This is engaging fully, but protecting yourself by cutting the cord to your ego's need for validation or a specific outcome.
You have nailed it. Verse 18.11 says it so clearly. He who renounces the fruit of action is called a true man of renunciation. You don't need the orange robes and the begging bowl. You just need to change your relationship with the why behind your work.
So we keep the job, we do the work with excellence, we just stop refreshing the stats page every 5 seconds.
That is the daily practice of it, yes.
Okay, so if we're going to do this work, this detached engagement, we need to understand the machinery we're working with, our own minds.
Our own psychology.
And that brings us to the next major section of our deep dive, because the Gita reintroduces this incredibly powerful framework called the 3 gunas.
The gunas, yes. This is absolutely essential. We got a little taste of them back in chapter 14, but chapter 18 applies them to everything. It's essentially an ancient personality test, but it's way more dynamic than something like Myers-Briggs.
Which guna are you? I feel like this could be a BuzzFeed quiz.
It really could, but the key difference is a personality type is something you feel like you're stuck with. I'm an introvert. But the gunas are modes. They are states that you shift in and out of all day long.
Okay, so let's define them for anyone who might be new to this. We have sattva, rajas, and tamas.
Right.
So sattva is, that's the good stuff, right? The aspirational mode.
It's the mode of goodness, of purity. Think balance, light, clarity, knowledge. When you feel lucid, calm, focused, and connected, that is a sattvic state.
Okay. And rajas, that feels more familiar.
Rajas is the mode of passion. It's movement, energy, ambition, but also anxiety and restlessness. It's the fire that gets you out of bed in the morning.
But it's also the fire that burnt you out.
Precisely. It's never still.
And finally, tamas.
Tamas is the mode of ignorance. Think inertia, darkness, confusion, laziness, sleep. It's the heavy gravity that pulls you down and keeps you stuck.
Okay. Now, what I found both hilarious and, frankly, a little rude in the source material
I think I know where you're going with this.
is how Chapter 18 applies these gunas to the concept of happiness. It breaks down happiness into 3 distinct types, and reading it feels like a very personal attack.
It's verses 18.37 to 18.39, and yes, it's a diagnostic mirror. It can be a bit bracing to look into.
So let's look at sattvic happiness. The text has this beautiful poetic description. It says it's like poison in the beginning, but nectar in the end.
Such a vivid image. Think about it in your own life. What feels like poison when you first start it?
Waking up at 5 a.m. to go for a run in the cold, a cold shower, sitting down to meditate when your brain is racing a million miles an hour, studying for a big exam.
Exactly. It's hard. There's friction. Your body, your lazy mind says, no, please, let's not do this. That's the poison. But if you pushed through that initial resistance, what happens on the other side?
You feel amazing, you feel accomplished, clear-headed, you have that runner's high or that post-meditation clarity. The day just goes better.
That is the nectar. And the text says it arises from one's own intelligence and self-realization. It's a deep, sustainable kind of happiness.
But then we have rajasic happiness, which is the complete inverse.
Nectar in the beginning, but poison in the end.
Oh, I know this one intimately. We are very well acquainted.
I think we all are.
This is eating the entire pizza by yourself. This is the impulse buy on Amazon at 2 in the morning. This is doom scrolling on social media for an hour.
It feels fantastic for the first 5 seconds or the first 5 minutes. That sweet, sweet dopamine hit. That's the nectar. And the text says it arises from the contact of the senses with their objects.
But afterwards, what comes after the nectar?
The crash, the regret, the sugar hangover, the credit card bill, the brain fog from scrolling.
The poison.
That is the poison. And the Gita is basically holding up a sign asking you to look at your life and ask, this thing I'm chasing, this happiness I'm seeking, Is it poison then nectar? Or is it nectar then poison? Because Rajas is a trickster. It sells you the nectar up front, but it hides the poison in the fine print.
It's the ultimate bait and switch.
Mhm.
And then there's the third one, tamasic happiness.
Which is described as a happiness that is a delusion from beginning to end.
What's an example of that?
The text says it comes from sleep, laziness, and negligence. So this isn't the restful sleep you need. This is the happiness of calling in sick when you aren't, staying in bed all day, and binge watching a show you don't even really like, just to numb out and avoid your life.
It's not rest, it's just pure avoidance.
Precisely. It blinds the soul. It feels like a relief, but it's just digging the hole deeper.
This is brutal self-reflection.
Hmm.
But it's so useful. I think so many of us confuse that rajasic excitement with genuine happiness. But the Gita is saying, no, hold on. Real, lasting happiness usually starts with a little bit of a struggle.
And this framework doesn't just apply to happiness. The text does the same thing for intellect.
Yeah.
It says a sattvic intellect is one that can distinguish. It knows the difference between right and wrong action, between what leads to bondage and what leads to liberation. It sees things clearly.
And a rajasic intellect.
It's confused. It can't tell the difference clearly. It judges things based on personal gain. The primary question is always, is this good for me? Rather than, is this the right thing to do? It blurs the moral lines.
That sounds like a lot of modern life, to be honest.
It does. And then you have the tamasic intellect, which is genuinely the scary one.
Why is it so scary?
Because the tamasic intellect actually inverts values. It thinks wrong is right and right is wrong. It's totally covered in darkness. When you see someone justifying truly terrible behavior, and they genuinely believe they are the victim or the hero in the story, that is a mind operating on a tamasic OS.
It's like a corrupted operating system. It's giving you bad data and you believe it's true.
Exactly. So the goal here isn't just to label ourselves and say, oh, I'm so rajasic today. It's to become a conscious user of our own mind. It's to try and upgrade our operating system, to move from the heaviness of tamas to the energy of rajas, and then crucially, to channel that rajasic energy toward the clarity of sattva.
And you need that sattvic clarity, that clear-seeing intellect to understand the next big concept chapter 18 talks about, which is Swadharma.
Ah, yeah.
The stay in your lane doctrine. This is our third major section.
This is easily one of the most liberating and, at the same time, one of the most controversial concepts in the entire Gita.
Let's start with the verse itself. It's 18.47. It says, better to perform one's own duty, Swadharma, imperfectly, than to perform another's duty perfectly.
Just let that sink in for a second.
It goes against absolutely everything we are told in modern culture.
Everything.
We're told we can be anything we want to be. We should hustle to be the CEO, the influencer, the rock star. If you can dream it, you can do it. But the Gita is saying, hang on, maybe don't.
The Gita is saying, respect your nature, your svabhava. It's asking you to do the deep work of looking at your own constitution, your natural inclinations, your unique mix of gunas, and then align your work with that. It's about authenticity over aspiration.
The source text gives this really powerful analogy that helped me understand this. It's about smoke. Can we unpack that?
Yes. This is verse 18.48. All undertakings are covered by defects, just as fire is covered by smoke.
I just love this imagery because I think we all suffer from a serious case of grass is greener syndrome.
Oh, absolutely. Imposter syndrome, social comparison.
Yeah.
It's rampant.
Right. We look at other people's careers, maybe a friend who's a high-powered lawyer, and it looks so clean from the outside, so perfect, so smokeless.
You see the fire, you see the warmth, the light, the money, the prestige, but you don't see the smoke. You don't see the crushing stress, the 80-hour work weeks, the office politics, the lack of creative freedom.
And maybe that lawyer friend looks at you, let's say you're a graphic designer, and thinks, man, look at that creative freedom. Look at that beautiful art. He sees your fire, but he doesn't see your smoke.
He doesn't see the financial instability, the anxiety of finding the next client, the difficult feedback, the creative blocks.
Exactly. Every path has smoke.
Yeah.
Every single one. And the Gita is saying, don't jump ship just because you smell smoke on your own path. You're just going to trade one kind of smoke for another.
And worse, you might trade for a kind of smoke that completely suffocates you because it's not your smoke. It doesn't align with your nature.
So if I'm an artist by nature, with a more sapphic or creative temperament, trying to force myself to be a high-pressure salesperson just for the money would be a violation of Swadharma.
It is. The text would call that a form of violence against your own nature. And you will likely either fail or be deeply miserable, even if you succeed by external standards.
This feels like a powerful anti-envy clause.
That's a perfect way to put it. It validates the individual. It says your unique makeup is not a mistake. It's your blueprint. Now, we do have to address something here because the source material brings up the 4 social categories.
The Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras.
Yes, and historically, this has been misinterpreted and misused to create a rigid, oppressive caste system based on birth.
Which is obviously deeply problematic.
Hugely. But the text here, and especially the commentary from the traditions we're looking at, emphasizes that these categories are based on gunas and karma, on qualities and actions, not just on birthright. It's a description of a natural distribution of qualities in any society.
So it's not meant to be a hierarchy of high and low.
No, and this is the absolute key point. The text explicitly says that anyone from any of these categories can attain the highest perfection by worshiping the Lord through their specific duty.
Work is worship.
Work is worship. That is the great democratizing idea here. If you are a cleaner and you do your work with total focus, skill, and dedication as an offering to the divine, your work is a form of yoga. You are closer to enlightenment than a priest who is just going through the religious motions with a distracted, ego-filled mind.
So perfection isn't in the type of job you have.
Perfection is in the attitude of the worker.
That takes so much pressure off. You don't have to have the cool job or the prestigious title to have a spiritual life. Your 9-to-5 job is the spiritual life.
It is your kukshetra. It is your yoga mat.
Okay, let's just review where we are. We have our orders from headquarters. Number 1, do the work, but detach from the result. That's Tyaga.
Right.
Number 2, diagnose your mood and your mindset using the 3 gunas. Try to cultivate sattva. And number 3, stay in your lane. Do your swadharma with excellence and stop comparing your smoke to someone else's fire.
A perfect summary.
But let's be real for a second. That is hard. That is all incredibly hard to do. Life is overwhelming. The smoke gets thick. And sometimes you just feel like you can't do it. You feel like you're going to fail.
And that feeling, that moment of near despair, is what leads us to the climax of the entire Gita, the secret of secrets.
Section 4. We are at the very end of the chapter now. This is often called the Charma Shloka, the ultimate final verse. But just before Krishna says it, in verse 18.63, he does something really interesting.
He gives Arjuna space. He pulls back. After explaining all of this incredibly complex philosophy, he looks at Arjuna and he says, I have taught you wisdom more secret than all secrets. Reflect on it fully and then do as you choose.
Do as you choose. That line gives me chills every time I read it.
Me too.
I mean, he's God. He's the supreme being of the universe. He could just order Arjuna, pick up the bow and fight, soldier. That's an order.
But he doesn't. Because true love requires freedom. True devotion cannot be coerced. He respects Arjuna's free will right up to the very end. He lays out the entire map, but he makes it clear that Arjuna still has to choose to drive the car.
And then, only once that space of freedom is created, he delivers the final, ultimate assurance. Verse 18.66. Sarva dharman parityav mam ekam sharanam vraja.
Abandon all varieties of dharmas and simply surrender unto me alone.
Okay, we have to talk about the elephant in the room here. Abandon all dharmas.
It seems like a huge contradiction.
For 17.5 chapters, Krishna has been hammering the point. Follow dharma, do your duty, be righteous, uphold the moral law. And now, in the last minute of the game, he says, just abandon it all. Is this a trick?
It really sounds like a contradiction, doesn't it? Forget all the rules I just taught you.
It sounds like nihilism. Or even worse, it sounds like a license to break the law. Sorry, officer, I was speeding, but Krishna told me to abandon Dharma, so...
Please do not try that argument in court.
Not recommended?
It's not recommended. No, to understand this, we have to look at the commentary. This is where the deep dive into the source material is crucial. We are using a specific Dvaita Vedanta interpretation and a very interesting grammatical derivation by a scholar named Sri Madhwacharya.
Okay, walk us through this. This is the really granular part.
So the phrase is almost always read as abandon all dharmas. But this alternative reading looks at the Sanskrit grammar of the words ma, me, and kam.
Right.
The word ma can mean do not. The word me means to me. And the word kam, in this context, can refer to Vaideva, the deity of the life force.
Okay, that's pretty technical. So what does it mean when you put that all together?
Instead of abandon dharma, the reading becomes do not renounce dharmic activities. It's actually saying the opposite. It's saying keep doing your duty, keep being righteous, but...
There's a but.
There's a huge but. Surrender the agency and the reliance on those dharmas.
Surrender the reliance. That feels like the key phrase.
It's everything. Think about why we usually do good deeds. If we're really honest with ourselves, deep down, there's often a transactional mindset at play.
The moral vending machine.
Exactly. I put in the coin of my hard work, my good deeds, my righteousness. And so the universe owes me the snack of success or happiness or salvation.
I followed all the rules, so I deserve a good outcome.
And Krishna at the very end says, smash the vending machine. Abandon Dharma in the sense of abandoning your ego's reliance on your own righteousness as a kind of spiritual currency. You cannot buy your way to peace. You cannot earn your salvation through good deeds alone.
So it's a profound shift from self-reliance to
radical dependency, to grace,
Yeah.
to pure surrender. And that's why the verse ends the way it does. He says, I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions, mashucha, do not fear.
do not fear. That really is the emotional core of the entire Gita, isn't it?
Yeah.
For the listener, for the learner who is anxious about their career, their kids, their future, their mortgage, this is the ultimate safety net.
It is.
It's saying, you do the work, you do your best, you stay in your lane. But ultimately, the crushing weight of the final result is not on your shoulders. It's on his.
It is the ultimate relief. You are responsible for the effort, but you are not the general manager of the universe. You can finally resign from that post.
I think we all desperately need to resign from that post.
I think so.
Now, before we wrap this up, I want to pivot to something really cool that was in the appendices of our source material.
Okay.
We've been talking about Kurukshetra this whole time as a real physical place, mud, blood, chariots, the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a meta layer to this, an allegorical interpretation.
Yes, the Gita Vivruti Atyatma Artha, the war within.
The commentators suggest that the Gita isn't just a history lesson, it's a live-action map of your own body and mind.
It's happening inside you right now, so let's decode the symbolism. If you close your eyes and just imagine that battlefield.
You have Kurukshetra, the field of war.
That is the human body. It's the field where all of our life's battles take place.
And the two armies fighting on that field.
The Pandavas, the 5 brothers, the good guys, they represent the angelic or divine forces within you. Knowledge, virtue, compassion, mindfulness, self-control.
And their opponents, the 100 Kauravas.
They represent the demoniac forces. Greed, anger, ego, jealousy, ignorance, all the negative tendencies, and they are constantly fighting for control of the kingdom, which is your body.
And who is the blind king, Dhritarashtra, who is technically in charge?
He represents the ignorant mind, the lower mind. And notice the most important detail. He is blind. He can't see the truth. He clings desperately to the kingdom. He keeps saying, my people, my sons, but he is completely in the dark. That is the part of us that clings out of fear and ignorance.
That is uncomfortably accurate. So this war isn't something that happened 5,000 years ago. The war is happening when my alarm goes off at 6 a.m.
That's it, exactly. The battle between I should get up and go to the gym, that's a Pandava impulse, and just 5 more minutes, that's a Kaurava impulse.
Yep.
That is Kurukshetra. You are Arjuna standing in the middle of your chariot trying to decide what to do.
And who is Krishna in this internal map, the charioteer?
Krishna is the buddhi, the higher intellect. Your discernment, your wisdom, your conscience. And notice where he is sitting. He is the charioteer. He holds the reins.
And the horses. What are the horses?
The horses are the 5 senses. If your intellect, Krishna, is asleep at the wheel, or if you choose to ignore him, what do the horses do?
They run wild. They chase after whatever looks good, smells good. They run right off a cliff. The whole chariot crashes.
But if the intellect holds the reins firmly,
the horses go exactly where they're supposed to go. The senses are disciplined and serve a higher purpose.
So the Gita is, in this sense, a practical manual on how to put your higher intellect back in the driver's seat of your life.
That makes the ending, the final verse, so much more powerful. It's verse 18.78, spoken by Sanjaya, the narrator who has been seeing all of this unfold.
His final report from the battlefield.
He says, wherever there is Krishna, the Lord of Yoga, and wherever there is Arjuna, the archer, there will surely be opulence, victory, prosperity, and sound morality.
It's the formula for success. And notice the key. It requires both.
It's not just wherever there is Krishna.
No. You can't just sit on your couch and pray and meditate and expect the work to get done. That's spiritual bypassing. You also need Arjuna the archer, the man of action. You need the hustle.
But, and this is the other side of it, you can't just have Arjuna either.
No way. If you have just hustle, just action, but it's not guided by vision, by a moral compass, by grace, what do you get?
You get burnout. You get ambition that turns into greed. You get destruction. You get the Kauravas.
You do. So it's vision plus hustle. It's grace plus grit.
That is the winning combination.
It's the only one that works.
We have to just touch briefly on the philosophical grounding here.
Yeah.
Our source material for this deep dive
Mhm.
mentions the 9 tenets of Dvaita Vedanta.
Mm.
We don't have time for a full theology lecture, but why does this specific philosophy, which is a form of realism, matter for the average listener trying to apply this?
It matters enormously because of how it views the world you live in. Some other very popular philosophies suggest that the world is ultimately Maya, an illusion. That your pain, your struggle, your job, it isn't fundamentally real.
It's all a dream.
Right, but the Dvaita tradition says, no, the world is real, the struggle is real, the rent is real, the war is real. And that validates your lived experience, it doesn't dismiss it.
That feels much more respectful of the human condition, actually.
It is, and the other really big tenet is difference is real, which means you are not God, God is not you. There is a real, eternal distinction.
Why is that distinction so important? I mean, wouldn't it be cooler to just be God?
It might sound cool, but think it through. If you are one and the same as God, who do you love? Who do you ask for help? Who are you grateful to?
That's a very good point. You can't really hug yourself.
Exactly. A relationship requires two. The entire path of devotion, of bhakti, which is so central to the Gita, requires two. This philosophy preserves the sanctity and the reality of the individual soul. It says, you matter. Your unique journey matters. You aren't just a drop of water that's going to disappear into the ocean. You are you in a loving, eternal relationship with the divine.
It brings a tremendous amount of warmth and personality to the text. It's not just cold, abstract metaphysics. It's relational.
It is deeply, deeply relational.
We've done it. We've done the deep dive on the finale. We've unpacked the crucial difference between quitting and letting go.
Between sannyasa and tyaga.
We've analyzed our own personalities with the gunas. We've learned to stay in our lane with Dharma. We've looked at the ultimate safety net of surrender. And we've even mapped the entire battlefield inside our own bodies.
We have covered a lot of ground today.
So, as we close out this series finale, how does the listener walk away different? What's the practical take-home toolkit?
I would summarize it in 4 simple, actionable steps. First, action. Do your duty. Do your work. Do it imperfectly if you have to, but do not let the fear of imperfection paralyze you into inaction.
Okay, action. What's second?
Second, attitude. This is the game changer. Use the tool of tyaga. Detach from the result. Cut that emotional cord to the outcome. Do the work for the sake of the work itself, or as an offering to something higher than your own ego.
Action. Attitude third.
Third, diagnosis. Use the gunas as your daily diagnostic tool. Check in with yourself. Am I feeling heavy and lazy? That's tamas. Am I feeling frantic and anxious? That's rajas. And then consciously try to steer your chariot toward the clarity and balance of sattva.
And finally,
safety. When the pressure is just too much, when the anxiety is overwhelming, remember verse 18.66. Surrender. Abandon your ego's frantic need to save itself. Remember that you are supported by something infinitely bigger and more intelligent than your own worried mind.
that is a powerful, powerful toolkit. You know, the Gita ends with Arjuna picking up his bow.
The very bow he dropped in chapter 1.
Exactly. At the very end, in verse 18.73, he looks at Krishna and says, "My illusion is gone. I have regained my memory through your mercy. I am firm and free from doubt. I am prepared to act according to your word."
He picks up the bow. He doesn't run from the war. He re-enters it.
But he's a different man.
A completely different man. He's no longer fighting for his own glory or out of his own fear. He's fighting as an instrument of the divine. He has moved from a state of crippling anxiety to one of profound purpose.
So here is the provocative thought I want to leave you with today.
Yeah.
The Gita is over. The dialogue on the battlefield is done. But your war, your Kurukshetra, is still happening every single day.
It is.
Now that you know the secret of secrets, now that you know you don't have to carry the crushing weight of the result on your own, what bow have you been hesitating to pick up? What difficult conversation? What creative project? What life change have you been avoiding because you were so afraid of the outcome?
And are you ready now to finally lift it? Not for the trophy at the end, not for the applause, but simply because it is your duty, your nature, your swadharma.
Treat your daily challenges as your own personal Kurukshetra. You've got the guide. You got the charioteer. Now, go fight the good fight. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.